Yeah.
Everyone's ready, we'll go ahead and get started tonight. So good evening. Thank you all for being here. I know we have a great group here in person, and also thank you to everyone that is joining us tonight virtually. My name is Jessica Maldonado, and I'm actually the past president of the Clive Chamber of Commerce. So I'm very excited to be here with you all tonight. On behalf of the Clive Chamber, I'd like to welcome our chamber members, along with a lot of the Clive residents that are here this evening to this candidate forum. We look forward to hearing from our candidates, and thank you all for being here as well. The Clive Chamber of Commerce works to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. So in conducting today's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Just a couple kind of housekeeping items. The forum will start with opening remarks from each candidate. We'll then take a 5-minute break to collect any additional written questions from the audience. I believe those are on the back. There's some note cards there for you. And those of you attending virtually can also enter your questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that as well. So then following that question and answer period, each candidate will also have a couple minutes for final closing remarks. So before we get started, I also wanted to give a special shout out to Mayor Sirksey. I just lost him, who's here with us tonight. So as many of you know, he's not running for re-election. So I thought we could take a quick minute to give him a round of applause and thank you. So to get started with our opening comments, we're going to start with our mayoral candidate, John Edwards.
Thank you. And I want to thank the chamber for setting this up. We all appreciate the opportunity to talk to the citizens of Clive. As far as me personally, I've been on the council for 26 years, so we've got a history of voting. Part of there. I served as mayor pro tem during the majority of that time, so I have some sense of what is necessary to serve as mayor, including a couple months when I was between the mayor. I think tonight you're going to hear a number of common themes from all of us that are up here. All of us love Clive, we love living here. Our citizen satisfaction survey indicate that this is a desirable place. People really like living in Clive. There are a number of amenities in Clive that the citizens really appreciate, whether it's the green, the parks, the library. They appreciate the quality of housing, neighborhood service. We hear frequently about the high quality of service every day. The story we hear during winter time is that you can tell when you're driving in the Clive versus another city, how the streets are packed. So hats off to our employees who do fantastic. We also hear about how the city's been able to maintain a low tax rate.
Nope.
They're having a little trouble hearing you in the
Yeah.
background, so I didn't know if people are comfortable here seeing or pull their close.
I'll try to hold it closer to see that.
Okay.
I won't start from the beginning.
That's okay.
You didn't need to. But you'll hear from us, again, reinforcing the work that has been done. And much of it is attributed to the good management practices of the city of Clive. Very sound fiscal management. As I think most of you know, we have a AAA bond rating, which we're very proud of in the city to have that. And from the planning that goes into the process. I brought just as a visual aid, the notebook showing the strategic planning that the council and staff go through each year to set the plan for the city. And we follow that and it guides the actions of the staff, setting our priorities for the next year. And by doing so, it enables the city to be very well run, thus to be able to have that low tax rate and the level of services that our citizens expect. So with that, I'll pass it on to Hope. Is that
I think that Eric kind of, next, we're gonna kind of mix things around.
You're gonna mix it up.
So everybody has a chance to go in different orders.
Thank you, John. And again, thank you to the Clive Chamber for hosting this event. It's always good to see friends and neighbors out here and have a chance to visit a little bit about important city issues facing all of us here in Clive. My name is Eric Clive, and I've been a member, honored to be, of the Clive City Council for 12 years. I've served on a number of boards and committees over these years. I won't go into all of them, but I've also been a proud member of the Chamber, Clive Chamber of Commerce for many years, and have joined many of you on trail cleanups and ribbon cuttings, breakfasts, lunches. I can go on and on and on. So thank you for the great work that you do. I won't repeat some things that my colleague, Councilman Edwards has said, but I can say this, that, you know, the city of Clive receives very high marks. It is a very desirable place to live, and that doesn't happen by accident. You know, as the mayor often says, Clive is the best deal in the metro. We have real estate agents that seek out Clive because of our low tax rate. Very low compared with other cities. They seek us out because of our great Greenbelt Park in our trail system right here. You know, we spent a lot of time and effort to upgrade our equipment in our parks, paving our trails, but also making sure that we're expanding our parks too and doing it in a responsible manner. You know, one of the things that we look at as we're moving forward, some of the priorities, one of those is the Greenbelt Triads. We've talked a bit about that in strategic planning. We're moving forward with these projects to increase our parks, whether it's the Greenbelt Landing right here, whether it's the bridge over at Campbell, or whether it's Porter Shelter House and renovating that. I have a long history of dedicated public service. I'm also a former Army captain and have spent many years working Fortune 500 companies. So I've always tried to bring that business acumen and military discipline to the job as a Clive City Councilperson. My background, my lovely wife Benita's here, my young son Carson's here. We've lived in Clive since 2006, but I've been a member of the greater Des Moines area since I was born. As we move forward to the future, my goal is to continue to stay the same. We have a financially feasible city right here, and again, we've got a AAA bond rating to work well with a regionalized effort. Especially with fire and safety with our other local communities to make sure that our citizens are safe and that they get quick response times, and also to upgrade our beautiful park system, but finally to address water management. And one of the key things as we look on is our stormwater management and water resource plan. It's important that Clive plan forward. You know, these 100-year floods are becoming far more active and more often, but also dealing with the build out. Clive is a landlocked facility. It's a landlocked city right now. And so the redevelopment of Eastern Clive is an important part as well. So thanks again for having us, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Hope Johnson. Let me know if my volume is not correct. We have lived in Clive since 2004. We decided to move here because we had heard great things about one of the elementary schools in the Milwaukee School District, and that's where we ended up in Clive. We also live very close to a park and the trail, and that's what got us here. We've been really lucky to live in Clive. My family attends Faith Lutheran Church on University, so a lot of my life has been centered here in Clive. My kids did Clive Rangers many years ago. We love the Aquatic Center, the Clive Public Library. So Clive has given a lot to my family. And now that I have some time after work, I'd like to give some of that time back to my city. My youngest daughter just graduated in May from Milwaukee High School, and so now I can shift my focus from family and other activities to serving my city. I think Clive is a great city, and as I'm knocking doors all over the city, everyone agrees. Clive is in great shape. It is well run, it is well managed. There are only very small things that people have told me about as I've been knocking doors. And I tend to agree. So one of the things that I think that we can do, since we are doing all of the basic things really well, I think we can go to that next level and tweak some of the things on the edges that are not core things, but that we can do just a little bit better. One of those is communication. I think over the last few years, we've been doing a much better job of communicating to our community about specific things that are happening here, about important things like road closures, about great opportunities and amenities like the Clive Greenbelt Goats. And I think that we should really focus on those things that make Clive distinct. One of those is the goats. One of those is the green belts. One of those is the low tax base. We do a great job managing the city. The people who have been in charge to this point have done a great job managing the city with a low tax base, and I also appreciate that. I think that whenever you're talking about budgeting, it's a matter of balancing, and you need to decide where you focus. There are some things that I would do differently if I were able to make budgeting decisions. Some of that would be lean into our distinct by nature, focusing on the nature, take good care of our natural resources, and be prepared for the changes that are coming to our city, including potential flood. And I know that it's hard to focus on flooding right now because we've been in a drought for a while. So part of the council's job is to look ahead and think about things that people might not be thinking about, but plan for that. Since I announced my campaign, I've been knocking on doors. I've talked to several hundred people, and those are just the ones who bothered to answer the door. I was grateful to be able to attend one of the strategic planning work sessions that Councilman Edwards talked about. My work schedule allowed for me to attend one of those after a long day of work. And it was fascinating to see all of the work that goes into the planning for that strategic planning. It's great to see the reports from various departments and hear different perspectives. I have been attending all of the council meetings, either on Zoom or in person since April. Often I have been the only member of the public in the audience other than staff, so the only member of the public. So I've been learning. There's a huge amount to learn to do this job. And I've been working hard all summer to do that with meetings and with talking to constituents. I love the opportunity to serve on the city council. Thanks.
Thank you, and thanks for spending an evening with us tonight. It's an important part of the process in any election that we get the engagement from the public as well as the chamber. And again, thank you as residents as well as chamber members for coming out tonight. One of the themes that you'll hear me talk about tonight is redevelopment. Fact of Clive being built out or soon to be built out is true. We have hit our western line, and we need to start focusing on redevelopment. And it's a big part of that is the chamber and the work the chamber does every day is the redevelopment piece as well as the development piece on the business side, which is just as important as the resident side and the housing. So it's that balance, but we need to start focusing on redevelopment of both housing and commercial areas. Again, with partners, like residents that are willing to spend the nights like tonight and other committees that we welcome residents on, as well as the chamber members giving their input on how to redevelop areas. One of those areas that will be a theme of mine as well is I'm a huge champion of parks, green space, and with that comes Linan Park on the eastern side, which is probably the most used park that we have in Clive, hands down. Take the softball away from Campbell, and there's not another park that can touch Linan Park, which is a block away from my house. So it is dear to me. I raised my kids there in that area. They both went to Crestview Elementary School. We still stay in that area off 89th Street and go by that park on a daily basis to watch its development and redevelopment and exciting things there to come with Linan Park, as well as a lot of our other parks. So it's a fun process to watch. I want to continue to watch that process as well as the other processes that are going on with redevelopment and the final development of Clive. Like I said, I've raised my family here, 2 kids. My daughter just being married last year, son in an engineering firm working in sustainability and environment. And had a lot to do with his interaction and with the parks in the Greenbelt right down the street from our house of a connection. So it's been a wonderful place to live. It's been a wonderful place to give back. I was appointed in late 2012 to the council, then elected in 2013, and really honored to be running again for this seat coming up. A couple of things I would mention. A lot of thanks go to the residents to hold our feet to the fire on a lot of the programs we're doing. A lot of kudos to the staff for also doing the same, but also being innovative, coming forward with solutions, not always problems, and really thinking outside the box with residents. The flooding, great future thinking on the flood pieces. Staff has really been grinding with the flood areas and working with the federal government to get those insurance plans down for the folks that do fall into the flood area. That's something they didn't have to do. That's something that we could have looked the other way, and flood insurance is what it is. But staff took a lot of time along with council, but the time and the effort was with the staff doing that for the residents and with the residents. A lot of town hall meetings, communications, kudos to staff again. It's been unbelievable to watch the transformation from 2012 to where we are today. So I agree with Hope. I'm glad that residents have seen the increase of communications over the last few years. That was purposeful. It was intentional by our city manager, Matt McQuillan. It was an intentional position he brought on with an assistant city manager being heavy in the communications piece, as you would in any other normal leadership position. Surround yourself with the folks, you know your strengths, you surround yourself with the people that your strengths really aren't there or you don't have time for, and he's done a fantastic job with that. So I would expect communications have gone up over the last 2 or 3 years. This staff, as well as the council and the mayor, have expected that as well. So kudos to them. And with that, I'll stop talking and we'll get to questions.
All right, well, thank you all for those opening comments. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break. So if you had any questions that popped in your head during the opening comments, feel free to fill out a postcard, or if you're online, throw that in the chat. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Rather than write a question out, can I ask her to stand up?
If we have time at the end, we can.
Not really fair, you have to read my writing, but I'll do it again. So whatever the city's priority is.
Perfect. I think that's fine. Yeah. Maybe start.
That's what I was thinking too.
Just taking a break.
Yeah, we just had a meeting and now we're just taking the right questions so that we can get those suggestions.
Okay, all right.
Just be a couple minutes and then we'll get started again. Yeah.
It's a little bit, but not bad. No, it's okay. I say, yeah, 2 more minutes.
Either one. Either one.
I did my best handwriting.
I always kind of look at them quick before I like walk away.
With the spelling.
Stuff is spelled wrong, I get it. Okay, good seeing you.
Same here.
Oh. My writing list.
Yeah.
We have one more for you.
Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and get started again.
Oh, for Bobby. They are resident.
Yeah, yeah.
Voters, yeah.
I've been hanging out with my teenagers.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started again. If folks want to find their seat. All right.
Just start.
We're gonna go ahead and get started again. So thank you to everyone that submitted some questions, both here in person and online. We're gonna kick things off. We thought this was actually a good one. So somebody submitted, what are the cities or yours, if you're elected, priorities for the next year or perhaps even the next 5 years? So maybe in interest of time, we're gonna start at the end and then just pass down. We're not shuffling too much, and then we'll let a new person start each question. So
Thank you, and I'm told I'm supposed to speak obnoxiously loud into the mic so that people can hear us. But the question as far as our short-term and our long-term goals, as far as what we want to see in the city, I think there's probably consensus, we want to maintain the quality of services that we're currently providing. We want to be able to maintain that low tax rate that folks have been used to seeing, and the sound fiscal management that we practice as we have, we go through the strategic planning process, we have a long-term budgeting model so that there aren't going to be any surprises that we can't deal with as things change as time goes. So those would be some of the things that we'll look for the council to do short term in the next year. Longer term, and you'll hear others talking about this, we'll be opening up the public safety building here in the next month. That allows us to turn to diamond public safety, look at Lynn Park and those areas, and look at that redevelopment, which you've already heard mentioned, and figuring out how exactly that area can best be used. So that, looking at as we're approaching build out and how best to plan those areas and deal with that. So those are some things longer term that we'll be dealing with. But through the strategic planning process, we identify each and every one of those things, both short term and long term, that we're going to be dealing with. So I'll pass it on. Hope.
I appreciate those, and the other three on this table do have the benefit of having been involved in all of the strategic planning to this point, as well as the budgeting. I have seen only a piece of that, so they have a better look at those details, and I do appreciate their experience in that. Given that, I would also like to emphasize increasing public engagement. I think that Clive is very well run, and I think that sometimes people can get a little complacent because things are going well, and you don't necessarily need to engage in your city if things are going well. That means that we need to make an extra effort to reach out, especially to those voices who are not being heard or who are not at the table. So that's an effort that I'd like to make. I've already mentioned communication, and I think that we are on the right path for that. If it were to be possible at some point, I would like us to do a little bit more of promoting ourselves and marketing and showing everyone why Clive is such a great city and why this is the place that people want to move their families and want to settle their business. Why we stand out, the tax base is one good reason. There are lots of other reasons, and I think if we enunciate that a little bit, that'll help us get to that next level. I also think that I've been watching a lot of the flood management, and I'm very interested to see some of those details coming forward. I know that that's going to be a challenge that we're facing.
Yeah, great question. One of the key things we're looking at in the next year or so, the short-term priorities, again, is finishing up our new public safety facility. And then what do we do with our current facility for police and fire diamond public safety? These are big questions right here, along with Lynn Park, that we need to address. Another thing that's important is the District 1 plan. And this is for Eastern Clive. And this is something that I've served on this committee for many months. And what we look at is increasing commercial and residential property values for Eastern Clive, preserving our neighborhood character, flood mitigation strategies, also connectivity to the greenbelt for pedestrians, but also bicyclists. Again, reinvestments in Lynn Park and what Lynn Park is going to look like, but also protecting affordability and the diversity of the neighborhood, in addition to the shared identity of the neighborhood. A little bit about the communication, because that's come up a couple of times here. Let me give you an idea of all the different measures that the City of Clive does its communications. One is the cityofclive.com, which has a number of different resources to it. We have a monthly utility newsletter that comes out every month in the water bill that gives folks an update, in addition to multiple monthly email newsletters. We have unique community engagement projects, including like the Lost referendum and the 86th Street neighborhoods. In addition to, we have our staff does a great job of communicating those. But we also have special print publications like slides, like the Summer Clive Connected, in addition to signage that you see advertising things like lunch at the landing, in addition to partner communications with the Clive Chamber and also the Clive Community Foundation. We do a lot with earned media as well. So you've seen Clive on the news quite a bit more. Great job. In addition to our YouTube channels right there. We've got a city Facebook, library Facebook, fire Facebook, police Facebook, Instagram account for the city. We have Twitter accounts for Parks and Rec, library, Greenbelt Goats, city LinkedIn. We have, like we talked about, our YouTube channel and video right there. So I think on a whole entire spectrum of platforms, the city of Clive is doing a great job. We've expanded quite a bit, and I think we're definitely addressing those needs.
That's tough to follow, all of those, and agree with all of them, our priorities. And what we are lucky with it in the city of Clive is we have the staff that can touch all of those areas of the other three I've mentioned. Short term, again, is the fire and police station on Hickman. It's a wonderful building, anchor building for that road up there, and for some space that needed to be redeveloped and promoting redevelopment in the area. A great piece for that. Redevelopment, again, talking about 86th Street, and you can move on to Seven Flags area, the old Seven Flags, Horizon. That area that we're looking at, and we've been studying for years of how we redevelop that area. Do we put a road through? A lot of different options we've been forward thinking on. So that, again, I told you it'd be a theme, the redevelopment side from not just the eastern side, but all the way across. Some of it is starting to be touched on. Roads matter, right? So I'll call it redevelopment, but it's the redesign of some roads, resurfacing some roads. We've taken that very serious over the years. We've increased our funding for roads through many different ways, with fuel tax and other things we've dedicated dollars to. We study those roads, we look at them. I've heard, been knocking doors. Recently I was at Clark Street in that area. We've heard comments of why this road and why not this road. I can assure you that in some pockets, it's strange. You might think that your road should be redone by now, and why is ours being redone before another one? And I can hear it in my neighborhood to why is Clark being done, to 89th and 90th not being done. Well, there's a strange little thing. It was aggregate during that time, and I'm not saying Clark was just it, but there's pockets in 107th, 103rd, and other areas that there's pockets of bad aggregate. This is a true story. It's everywhere throughout the metro. Pleasant Hill sees it. It was that year those roads were built. Those are bad. So it might be some of those eastern roads are holding up better than some of those newer roads or those kind of middle roads. But we are looking at them all the time and doing studies constantly on these roads and giving them performance numbers. That's how we choose it. It's fairly scientific. We also have started in the last 6 years or so, someone could correct me, but also looking at roads and then down. What can we do underneath it at the same time? So if we rip out a road, what kind of sewer do we have under there? What water do we have in there? Should we do those at the same time, right? And the efficiencies in the dollars, so we pack those in. It's a great program. We do smaller amounts, right? Because you're doing all of them at once. But now you're not going to tear it back up in 5 years to do the water or sewer. So those are things I want to continue. Sorry to get off on that one, but that's a big one I've been hearing about, right? With in some of these neighborhoods. An Eastern Park is a future looking one. Not today, not this year, but in Alice Road. There's property owned by the city over there. How do you continue the green belt? And there's a large property there. Should it be park? Should it be a combination of both? What are we going to do with that property? It's going to be the last and one of the largest parks we develop. And so we're going to take our time on it and focus and do it right the first time. And so we've acquired a lot of that green belt already along the creek, and we're going to focus on it. That is a little bit longer term, right? Past a year. And again, as mentioned, police and fire, and what do we do with the current police and fire on Harbach? It is a big discussion. I don't think there's a debate on it. But we're discussing, and we're going to have roundtables with citizens, what they want done with it as well. Should it be sold? Should it be a community center? On and on. But we'll be listening. So with that, we'll go to the next one.
Thank you all. Digging into the infrastructure a little bit more, this question said, the council recently renewed goals which include fiscal soundness and capital infrastructure. One goal stated was that Clive is a great place to live, the premier location for families. Given that we're surrounded by a lot of suburbs with new libraries, sports complex, etc., what is your most exciting and innovative priority or idea to help attract families, broadly defined, to live in Clive or retain those that already live here? And since you've had to go last twice.
Keep hearing from it, I guess. I probably wish you had picked something different. I kind of joke about this, but a bit honest as well as how to retain and how to excite and how to get people involved. I say it is, the mayor says it's the best bargain or whatever to live here. I'd say it's we need to know who we are. And we're a bedroom community, right? We don't have a lot of jobs. We don't have the town center. We don't have, 10-story buildings and the principals and all that. But we're the greatest bedroom community in the metro. And we do a great job with taxes and everything. So let's celebrate what we are. And what we are is we have the best green belt. We have a great aquatic center. I don't want to touch the library. Some might argue, but I think it is a small town feel library with a very large number of people going through it. And the programs that are sent out of that small library is impressive. I hear over and over again from parents, we want that feel. We want that look. We want that. If we want to go to a big one, we'll go to Waukee, we'll go to Urbandale, we'll go to West Des Moines. So let's not be who we're not, right? Let's just be who we are and embrace it. And that is distinct by nature. And it's one reason why when the GO program started, it was kind of the staff bouncing back and forth of, let's try it for the environmental sustainability part. And the city bouncing back and saying, yeah, but should we be in the livestock business, right? It's a great point. It's why my wife and I said, let's donate them to the city. Let's kick it off with city staff and donate them with nothing coming back, right? And just let's see how that program goes. It was so cool to be down there. And I think all of us saw it going, council meetings coming to the city. It was during COVID, at the height of COVID, I'd be down there doing something with them and families would be coming and they're on the clock when they show up. It was their daily event to walk down the greenbelt and go see the goats. And so that is a cool program. And it's been celebrated by staff and the council, the mayor, the media. It is our communication tool. So when you talk about communications and such, Pete, who's in the back, assistant city manager, has done a fantastic job with others in staff doing the media on the goats, right? Again, it's become a kind of who we are. We've done goat masks. The new soccer fields over at Linnan Park have goat logo in the middle. It is what people are really wanting. Let's embrace it. That's a cool story, fun story. I'll end it with this. I forgot the time was up. I apologize, but I know Christy will yank me with like a shepherd's crook or something. But the overall quality of life in Clive is 96% rated in the National Community Survey that we do every 2 years. Right? Clive is a place to live. 97% said yes. Recommend living in Clive to someone who asked, 98%. So sometimes they say, when people say we got to do more, we got to do more. How do you get much better than 98%? And I say is we got to keep doing what we're doing. And what I talk to my staff a lot of times in my day job is we got to worry about the basics. It's kind of like sports too. Unless you can do the basics, let's not move on to the fancy stuff. And we are a small community inside of a large metro. Let's stick to the basics and do these cool things that we're doing and celebrate it, is what I say.
Thanks, Mike. So how do you attract families to Clive? And we've done a good job of this over the years. Someone said that about distinct by nature, and that truly is what Clive is. I was fortunate 12 years ago to sit on that committee that came up with the tagline and logo, distinct by nature. And what do people want in Clive? Why do people want to move here? Because it's safe. We've got a great public services with our police and fire. We've got great roads that are constantly getting better. Mike alluded to that we tripled the amount of money that we spend on roads and roads improvement. Currently, we use something called PCI, or Pavement Condition Index, which prioritize road construction. What we also do is while we're doing those roads with a measure of efficiency like we talked about, we're doing long-term improvements to the infrastructure. But people really want parks and trails as well. You know, here in Clive, we don't have a big downtown, we don't have an ocean, we don't have some of those things, but we've got a great greenbelt trail that no other community really has around here that goes through the spine of the community. So how do we continue to repave that trail, put great amenities alongside of it with our parks, put in new equipment with our parks, and add those parks? While we're looking at adding parks and redoing the land park, another key thing is when we're adding those parks, we also do a great job, and I give staff huge kudos for applying for REAP grants. What does that mean? It means additional money that we have to buy parkland. And guess what? If we're getting additional grants for that, that means it's less coming out of the taxpayer pocket right there. So all those type of things are why people come to Clive. An additional library. I remember when my young son was back there playing on his phone right now, I was little, and they'd go to toddler time and reading. And those were really highlights. And we've done an excellent job with our library with providing those type of youth-oriented services right there. People love that. Well, a good reason they want to come to Clive. Youth services, low tax space, safe community. I think I did on all of them. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating just the highlights of the question to be sure that I'm answering correctly?
Absolutely. Because the council recently renewed goals, which include fiscal soundness and capital infrastructure. One goal stated a great place to live, a premier location for families. So given that we're surrounded by suburbs with new amphitheaters, libraries, sports complexes, etc., what is your most exciting and innovative priority to attract families and retain those already here?
Great, okay. So yeah, we have a lot of sparkling things that are surrounding us. I live in the Dallas County part of Clive, and I drive through Waukee every day, and there's all this new stuff that's being built up there. And it can be very hard to compete with open land and shiny new places. So we have to work a little harder here. Something that I think that we need to do, I love that we have great survey responses. That's amazing. And I think I remember hearing that it was some of the best in the country even. So it's not just we're awesome for Iowa. We are really doing a great job nationwide. However, not everyone actually answers those surveys. And I know that it's very, very difficult to reach some families. Some families that live in Clive and have made their home here for many years are not fluent English speakers. They are new immigrants, they are part of our community, and they make our community better. And we need to make an effort to be sure that they are able to access the great amenities that we have. It's difficult to do that, it takes extra effort. It often means that we have to reach out to people much more because they may not be able to read all of the content on our amazing website. They may not have reliable internet to get to all of those great pages. There are ways to reach these people, and they want to be part of our community. And I think Clive Community Services is one great way to begin that process, to reach out and make sure that they have access to the information. There is a ton of information out there, but if you're not on Facebook, and I know a lot of people, not just non-English speakers, a lot of people choose not to be on Facebook. So as great as that content is, it's not reaching everyone. So I would love to continue those efforts.
Well, let me just kind of bookend the conversation here. I agree with what's been said, but I want to go back to what Councilmember McCoy said about the 98% satisfaction. And I agree with Councilmember McCoy. We'll make a note of it since.
Great.
But we need to keep doing what we're doing. And there was a comment in the question about, you know, all these great things that all our neighbors are doing. We don't need to replicate what they are doing. And we do one heck of a job here in Clive to cooperate with our neighbors. On the fire and EMS side, we do closest unit response. So that we're cooperating with our neighbors. And if you have a medical emergency, you don't care whether the side of the truck says Clive or Urbandale, you want that vehicle and those EMTs get there ASAP. And we've been doing this for years, whether it's in Urbandale, West Des Moines, with all of our neighbors, and it has saved our taxpayers millions of dollars. So just because some other neighbor has something shiny and sparkly, doesn't mean that we have to replicate. We live in a wonderful community where we share that. Giving another example going the other way, we have Urbandale residents that are going to be using the Clive Aquatic Center. And because of the Urbandale pool being closed. So we do this with our neighbors all the time. And again, it's a value to not only us, but the entire community. And we're known as a regional player. We're a leader. I mean, Mayor Sixteen has been on a leader in that regional governance for many, many years. And we take advantage of that. So again, just looping back to what Councilman McCoy said, we're doing great things. We're going to keep doing those. And we're going to keep cooperating with neighbors so that everyone gets the advantages of being in the metro community.
Can you hear me all okay if I fill this one out?
Go ahead.
The next question is, what concerns have you heard from voters as you've gone door to door in the community or talked to them elsewhere in the community? So let's let Hope start with this one.
So as the challenger here, who does not have the name recognition that my colleagues have, my competitors have, it's been my pleasure to spend a large part of my summer knocking doors. I have not knocked every door. We have a lot of doors here in Clive, but I have been knocking on both ends and in the middle, trying to connect with people that I don't already know. I can connect with the people who are already in my various social circles. What I've been working hard at is connecting with people I don't know, knocking on their doors. And it's great to hear that literally every single person I've talked to said, I love Clive. Some of them have said, I don't know what I would change about Clive. And that's fine. But some of the concerns that have come up are the very common ones, like there's too much speeding. There's little kids on my block and there's too much speeding. And what I've said to them is, okay, let's try and figure out how you communicate that with the city to see if there's something that can be done, because of course there are things that can be done. So my information is, let's get you connected so that you know how to report this problem. I've also heard from many voters that they are concerned about climate change. They are concerned about the changes that that's going to make to our city, that's going to make to our waterways, and that's going to make to our electric bills and our energy bills. So those are things that, some of what we can respond to as a city, and some of which is, of course, beyond our level of control. So let's focus on what we can control and go from there.
So I too have knocked on many doors and worked with people for many, many years, serving on the city council and various committees. People have a very high regard for Clive as a place to live. They have a lot of confidence in the leadership. They have a lot of confidence in the government and the staff. They talk long time about how polite our police officers are, what a great job our public works people do. And they truly do love Clive right there. And yes, they are concerned about climate change. They're concerned about stormwater management. And that's why, as a city, we've done great things with our water resource plan, formulating that with innovative stormwater management practices, including bioswales and retention water cells. But in addition to incentives for rain gardens, we're looking at a number of different plans right there. Our flood-prone property program, as many of you have seen over at university, has identified some of those properties that continue to flood out. The city's purchased those. We're looking at building more oxbows and other areas to deal with some of the stormwater management. But one of the biggest things that I've heard as I'm knocking is people are concerned with the politicization, especially in these local races, whether it's a school board, but especially city council. They're concerned with the candidates that are running with a political party this election for both school board, but especially the city council, these are non-political positions, they're non-partisan positions. So as we've seen individuals out there running with various candidates, with various parties out there, they're politicizing this. People are very concerned about that because it really taints the process. You know, these are a nonpartisan races for a reason. The reason to keep that discord that you see at Washington DC out of the city of Clive, because when you have that, things don't get done. And for the past many years, things get done here at Clive because we check the politics at the door. Unfortunately, politics are not being checked at the door. They're creeping into this election right here, and people are concerned with it. And you know, one of the things that we can do is work together and not work against each other. It's that we've had a lot of success right now. We've heard the numbers.
Thank you. Many things hearing from just, not just door knocking, but I've said this before at other forums and during council meetings. I and as many others on this council have a, if you're up, I'm up policy. If something's bothering you or happening in your neighborhood, call me. And it happens. And so if any of you live in the Lincoln Avenue area, 100th Street area, I spent many nights as well as did the city manager with, because if I'm up, he's up, with those phone calls, of loud noises and music, and they couldn't stand it, right? And so I take those phone calls every time. It's just part of that job, whether they be at 1:30 at night, whether they be at 6 in the morning, 7 this morning, one came in on a road issue, a ditch issue. So you take all that in. What I'm hearing is similar to what Hope said, and these are what I hope to continue to hear, are things like speeding, right? I say that, hope that that's what we continue to hear, because those, we can do something about it, right? Those are pretty simple fixes of, we'll put some extra officers on that road, we'll put a blinking light that we bought in, you know, does the speed checks, we move those around, we bought mobile ones for on purpose to move them throughout the city to keep you in check. If those are the things we're hearing most days, that's good, right? And then you just have to let them vent, talk to you about it, and tell them you'll get back to them, and you will get back to them. And staff is great. When you hand it over to staff, that's kind of our job. Get it to staff and stay out of the day-to-day operations, or we'll mess it up. So you pass that on, you make sure it was followed up on, and you can keep moving. Yesterday, I heard some tractors have been outside my house too long, 3 weeks, they're doing construction. Can we work on that? That'll go to staff, right? This morning about a ditch issue, going to staff. And then I want follow-up. So we just need to continue to listen. And what's great is we don't have these polarizing issues inside Clive. And so we're not hearing about those. This is a one Sunday afternoon, I went and knocked on the door, and he actually said, "You got my support, keep your notebook. You just keep giving me the services that you're giving me." And I know when I go over to Urbandale or West Des Moines on a snow day, when I change over to their city, right? That next road, that next lane, I get it. I go, "You do know we're spending some extra money on that, right?" He goes, "You go ahead and you spend it. And if our roads continue to look like they look today, you keep spending it." Right? So you get it from all sides, but I'm just not hearing that unhappiness. One thing I do want to just take up an issue with, we talk about, you know, I talk a lot about this survey. I'm a researcher in my past, academic in my past, and I believe in surveys. And when the survey says surveys were mailed to randomly selected households in the mid to late March 2020 to generate a statistically significant geographic data set. What else can I go by? That's the holy grail right there. When I can have that, and it's a statistically significant and a real research project, those numbers you go by. Multi-language handed out. So I don't discount this. Discounting that survey is discounting the work the staff has done for over a decade. It's impressive. They deserve the pat on the back. These are real numbers from real people all over the demographics. And you look at overall feeling of safety in Clive at 95%. That's incredible. again, pat the staff on the back and give them the kudos that they deserve. It. Last one, Clive ranked #1 out of hundreds of other jurisdictions nationwide for the job the government does at being honest, being open and transparent to the public, informing residents about issues facing the community, and treating residents with respect. #1, this thing's done nationally in hundreds of cities. Believe the numbers, numbers don't lie.
What I consistently hear from citizens going to door, and I'm sure others hear this as well, they really appreciate someone coming to the door and having the opportunity to speak to a candidate or a member of the council. What we hear, and I now must become very obnoxious, because you give me the obnoxious signal, speak loudly into the mic.
He's a law professor.
Moving right along. So they do appreciate us coming by. What we hear, I think, is localized, and I think Councilmember McCoy reflected that. If you're in Hills Woods or near it, you'll hear about concerns about the trees and what's being planned there. If you're on Clark Street, you may hear some concerns about the timetable for the roadway work there. If you're over on the eastern side, you may hear about the concern about the upkeep of rental properties, since we have more rentals over on the east side than we do in other parts of Clive. But as has been said before, the problems that are being raised are ones that can be addressed. Staff does a fantastic job. We hear about the problem, we send it to staff, they come up with a solution. And that's what I think our residents really appreciate, is what a great staff we have, and how good they are at solving these problems.
We'll let Eric go first on next one, see him back yet. This question kind of talking about the east side of town. What would you do to help include our diverse population on the east side of Clive in the growth and development of our city? Infrastructure development.
Sure. So I've served on the District 1 Citizens Advisory Committee. It's a 20-month committee assignment that helps put together plans for the east side of Clive. And how do we redevelop that? How do we keep its character? How do we maintain and property values of both residential and commercial developments? You know, there's a lot of things that come along with that. And as we go through this plan, we look at ways connectivity to the Greenbelt Trail is a key one right there, making things more walkable, but also looking at incentives for folks who live in different parts of Clive to reinvest in their own homes. So that type of incentive and a partnership with the city to reinvest in home improvements is a good idea out there that we're certainly looking at. Looking at road improvements right there. If you go over the eastern part of Clive, Harbeck will be coming up next as far as a large road improvement for an arterial road right there. Again, we talked a bit about the connectivity to the Greenbelt from both bicyclists and also pedestrians as well. But a key part of Eastern Clive is going to be 86th Street and the 86th Street neighborhood right there. So what do we do with 86th Street? You know, we've had a plan for many years. We continue to tweak and adjust that plan right there. How do we track businesses to 86th Street? How do we reinvigorate some of those current businesses we have right there? So I think that along with 86th Street, with the business development right there, incentivizing both residential and also commercial, how do they upgrade their properties? You know, these are all part of how you reinvigorate a community right there. But it's also keeping that culture and that character of Eastern Clive. And one of the key things will be as we redevelop Diamond Public Safety, if that's the direction we want to go along Land Park. You know, those are key linchpins of the community. So part of that is helping out the population as well through potentially English as a second language, partnering with the county for senior services is a possibility, relocating Clive Community Services into Diamond is another possibility right there. It's exciting and challenging to face these and address these, but this program we're on right now is devoted to doing that.
Well, I agree with what Councilmember Clive has said. We certainly want to emphasize the eastern neighborhoods. And as he has indicated, we've got a good plan in place that's going to enable us to make significant progress. I mean, we're already working in Linan Park. We'll have just in a few years to redevelop Linan Park. And then once we decide what we want to do with Diamond Public Safety, that I think will be an anchor for redeveloping all up and down 86. So in the next few years, I think we'll see that area transform. And as it does, there'll be, we think, additional businesses coming in, there'll be growth and development that is stimulated by the city's investment in that area. And there are opportunities for more partnerships with Crestview. We've seen that already this year. Parks and Rec has met with them many times with sixth graders to talk about what should be done with Linear Park. So that partnership has gotten the students and their parents involved, invigorated with what's going to happen there. So I think we've got a lot of support for that. But we're going to focus, I think, on that District 1 plan and doing what needs to be done to make that a very innovative area and inviting for our residents.
I've watched some of the, I've looked at the website, the 86th Street createclive.com website, and it's got great stuff. And I've talked to neighbors over there. When there was a call that went out on Facebook a while ago, probably just at the beginning of this. It was long before I ever thought that I would do this run for office thing. And it asked for people to be part of that conversation. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to be part of planning about what's going on in Clive. But then I took a step back and realized that's not my neighborhood. My voice does not need to be the loudest one there. So I'm really excited about the partnership with the school and with the community. Those are the voices that need to be heard there. And I appreciate that that has been a part of it. And I look forward to that continuing to be part of it.
It's a great question, and I think it's what's happened in the past. Since 2012, what I've seen on this council with the staff has been very encouraging. And one of the greatest movements of cohesiveness that I've seen on this council. Thank Eric for his work on the Eastern District Committee. He moved out of what I'll call the Eastern District and out west, but I'll say he didn't forget his roots, right? And he still gives back and spends hours and hours on that committee for the Eastern District planning area. And so that's impressive, but really the council, the staff, the mayor have really pushed that issue, not just the Eastern, but the Western. We don't look at it as districts or precincts or what side you should be on or voice you should be on. You should, like Eric is doing, lives further out west, still giving his perspective and leadership to that Eastern District piece, and that's commendable. I'll be honest, the mayor retiring has been a champion for all of Clive, right? And I know that John being the new mayor, that is how the election goes, Mr. Mayor. He will be the last, other than myself, council member moving off the eastern half of Clive. As Hope said, I agree, right? Self-serving a little bit, but I also agree before she even said it. There has to be a voice on the eastern half of Clive on the council. I would be the last voting voice if John moved to council out of anyone up here of the eastern half. I think that's important, regardless if it's me, I'd rather someone else, but we have to have somebody on the eastern half to give that voice and that constant voice, because how do you hear from the residents? How I do it, I go to things like the staff put on, which was in conjunction with Eric's Eastern District Committee work. an open house at Lanham Park, inviting all the residents to come. We bring the open houses to people. We bring the open houses to Clark Street. Our staff goes outside if the weather permits. So we bring those to the folks and the residents. That's important. How do I do it? I walk my neighborhoods. It is the United Nations. It is the greatest neighborhoods to live in. It really is. It's fantastic to walk around and talk to the folks. It's really changing since I moved in there in 2001. And it's a lot of fun. And so that's how I do it. I walk constantly over to Lanham Park and take pictures, probably too many to send the staff to see, look, there are hundreds of people in this park and it's a random Wednesday night, right? There are 50 people in this park and it's a random Thursday night. I do it all the time. We give out soccer balls to Lanham Park at the soccer fields, and my wife and I. And so those are just things you gotta do to learn who the people are and what they want. That's how I'll do it. I'll continue to do it the way I have been doing it for 21 years since I've lived there, and that's walk the neighborhoods and talk.
There's several questions that are very similar, so I'm gonna try to consolidate these and hopefully we can get through everything. I know, maybe we'll start, because you talked a little bit about speed and enforcing that. So there were several questions about, what can we do to enforce speed limits and make sure our streets are safe. There were specific questions around Clark Street, making sure it's enforced there, and also making sure citizens are aware of development plans and kind of in the loop on what's happening. So if you have any specifics on Clark Street, and then also to piggyback off that on 86th Street, there's also an interest in specific plans there. So a very loaded question, speeding Clark Street, 86th Street.
That is a lot. And they go hand in hand when it comes to 86th Street and Clark Street and speed. But there's a lot of other things going on. So part of Clark Street, fast forward, I think the city has done a great job. Can you always do just a little bit better? Of course, on communications, but our communication is night and day from just year over year over year. And so the communications we see online, that we see in mailings, that we see door to door, we do hangings on all the areas that we're about to do with development in, is impressive. Signs going up in the areas that development is coming, signs going up. So again, I said it in another forum, we can deliver, and Eric gave a great list of all these communications pieces. Sometimes we just need you to show up. We need you to come tonight. We need you to go out and get the information, because we can only put so much out. We can only go door to door so many times. We can, our newsletter is one of the highest read newsletters. It's crazy, the percentage of people that open our newsletter, either in paper or on electronic. It's unheard of in other places, right? You usually get 10%, something like that. Ours is, I think, still probably over 50% reading. So we continue to communicate, but at some point, we as residents and citizens have got to go get information, whether it be local or state or national. You have to want to receive the information or go look for it at some point. So you got to continue to do that. Clark Street has an issue with speeding, always has a road issue. Staff narrowed the road, hoping that would help. We've tried the roundabouts. We're hoping that helps. We're trying other things. In some cases, like I told the residents Sunday, we just got to enforce it. And we have to start giving tickets out. And your neighbors are going to be mad, and it might be you that gets a ticket. But you're the one kind of bringing it to our attention, and rightfully so. If you get that ticket, pay it, and I'd be quiet. I wouldn't call any complaint or complain next time I'm at your house. You ask for it. I think we need to start enforcing it. The other side of it, I told the husband and wife, some of that's on council, things like snow ordinances. The council, I have pushed this, right? That the first snow should be a warning. Often it happens. It seems like every year, but these guys are tired of me hearing it, saying it. It seems like it happens every year when the kids come home from break on Thanksgiving, from college, and we get this snow and then we ticket. That's changed over the years. Our police have gladly gone out and given that first snow warnings. Then we hit them with tickets. And you pay it. I've gotten one. You pay it. Right? So we have to enforce those areas, 86th Street the same. It's one of the reasons that the council and staff recommended that the police and fire station stay on that side of town. 86th Street, the safety, the call volume, all of those things. We just need to start enforcing it, but where's that balance between when you become a neighboring city and over police, right? A small area of a stretch of street, and you get a bad name, and when you do it, not enough. So we need to find that balance. I'd say call in, and the staff will react. The police chief is great about it, and again, we'll move those signs and such. So we've got to do a lot of things working with you. We've got to do the redevelopment working with you. We've got to listen to you more, and also then listen to the data that's coming into us from other, factors.
Yeah, speeding in every community is always a challenge right there, and I feel plenty of calls all the time on different roads that people are challenged with speeding. They've got kids in the area, and we talked a little bit before about having the mobile speed signs we've implemented around Clive that flashes if you're going too fast. We've implemented orange flags along the stop sign, so folks are aware that there is stopping right there. They don't blow through them, but also we'll have police officers run radar on different streets that is chronically speeding right there. And again, the reality is there has to be some first responsibility involved as well from all sides. And the key thing is you get a few tickets and it typically calms it down a little bit. On Clark Street, it is a process. I know, Mr. Members, we started that conversation a little bit. It's been a long haul for the residents, and it's not done yet. It's moving in that direction. COVID and it did not help anything. Global supply chain problems did not help anything, but we're moving forward. And remember too, that on Clark Street, as a city, we're using a lot of brand new techniques for stormwater management. We talked about that a little bit. So you have a lot of these different things involved in Clark Street that are moving forward, but the city of Clive is an innovator. One of the things about, especially stormwater management, other communities look to the city of Clive as we embark on a lot of new programs, whether it's erosion control, stormwater management. The city of Clive leads the way, and great kudos to staff for thinking outside the box on that. On 86th Street, we talked a little bit about the www.createclive.com. This gives you information on the great programs that we're looking at and working on to help reinvigorate that neighborhood. The 86th Street revitalization plan is part of our essence of what we're doing. We've listed it as a strategic priority. We continue to drive that plan right there. And one of the things is bringing business back to that 86th Street corridor right there. We're trying to do that. We've done some really cool upgrades to that. You'll see some art along there, especially with our partnership with Prestview Schools. So we're seeing a lot of nice plantings and landscapings on there. How do we continue to do that to drive investment? How do we continue to do that to help with our business partners right there? All that is part of the 86th Street plan. How do we help our residents? That is part of the Creek Clyde plan we're working on.
I'm excited to hear the high leadership level of the newsletter. I have heard from many people at the door say, yeah, I saw something about that in the newsletter. So that's exciting to have that kind of leadership at that level. So what that says to me is maybe that's the place to put a little blurb that says, if they're speeding on your street, this is what you need to do. That's where I learned that if there's an abandoned car or something that you think maybe hasn't been moved in a while, I figured out that's exactly what you do, because there was a little tiny blurb in that newsletter. So I think that's a great place to communicate those kinds of issues and make sure everyone knows how to communicate with the city.
In the interest of time, I'll just reinforce what has already been said, particularly about the speeding aspect. We do have a program and policy in place so that it's just a matter of contacting the police department and they will assist in getting a sign trailer there, monitoring the traffic and so forth. So it's just a matter of reaching out to the police department. You got a few more questions?
Yes. All right, one more question. This is I think maybe our last one before we'll do closing comments. they wanted to start with a little bit of a personal question. Some people asked a variety of questions, just talking about your background or prior service in Clive, committees you've served on, specifically if you've been involved with Clive Community Foundation. So all sorts of those. Maybe Hope will let you start there and we'll go that way. And then John will get to kick us off the next time.
Thank you. Most of my activism to this point has not been with the city of Clive. I have focused a lot of my volunteering in different organizations, mostly with the Waukee Community School District, so people who are out there are more familiar with me out there. So I have been connected with Clive Community Services more recently. I was finally able to find, they have volunteer times on Friday mornings, I think, and Monday nights. And because I had various committee meetings on Mondays every week, I finally was able to go volunteer with them on a Friday morning early this summer, and it was a great experience. And as I'm shifting my focus from schools and other organizations, I'm hoping to connect better with Clive Community Foundation, which is an amazing group, and Clive Community Services. In Clive, I served on the church council. I was elected to that position at Faith Lutheran Church. And more recently, my daughter was one of the people who competed in the Student of the Year competition for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. That was a statewide competition. And she raised $38,000 for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I was proud to support her in that. So there's different organizations. There are thousands of great organizations across the state, many within Clive. I appreciate the efforts that people have done there. And if I'm honored to be on the city council, I will be excited to be appointed to be part of some of those committees. I look forward to digging into those as well.
Great question. So for over 15 years, I've been involved with a myriad of different Clive boards and committees. I started off with like we said before, the tagline logo committee, which came up with a great term, distinct by nature. But I helped to reinvigorate Clive Festival, where I was on the board for 12 years. We took that organization, one that was failing, to one that was actually making money and had greater attendance, and turned it into a family style event. And I was the president for 4 years. In addition, I've been on representing Clive in the Wastewater Reclamation Authority. I've been on the Greenbelt Master Plan Committee that helped to come up with our great plan with how we're moving forward and buying new properties and redeveloping our parks. I've served on Clive budget committees. I've served on Clive strategic planning committees. I currently serve on the Convention Visit Bureau, also known as Catch Des Moines. I currently serve on the District 1 Citizens Advisory Committee. I've served on the Clive Fire Department Strategic Planning Committee. I've worked with and served on the Clive Chamber of Commerce for many years. So those are a few of the things that I've done for a 15-year career. Mike?
Yeah, for the sake of time, I'll go over just a couple of the highlights. The Clive Community Services, one of the great programs that Clive has started over the last 5-6 years. I was honored to be in those original meetings at Brugger's, sitting there planning that and helping with that. Joining Dr. Yogi Shah on those original ones as well, in the discussions of how that would open and what the 501c3 would be originally. My wife giving her time to there as a nurse, and she was an ICU nurse for 25 years, and then worked at the clinic, as well as both of us, the food pantry and the clothing closet there. I gave our time for Crestview sponsor for open gyms for many years, opening the gyms for the kids in that area to come in and play on Friday nights and have a kind of a safe place to go. I currently sit on the wastewater treatment board, DART board, and the public safety facility committee. There are others, but they're all great projects to be involved in. And kudos to everybody up here for giving their time to the community.
For those of us currently on council, if you go to the Clive website, our bios are there, so you can go there and look at all these things in detail. The chamber has done an excellent job of putting together bios on candidates, and I don't know if you can post a link to that so that those who are viewing can look at that. But those materials are very, very helpful in laying out why we're running and some of the things that we've done. I'm currently chair of the Metro Advisory Council, which involves the mayors of all the metro communities and representatives from the council. I also serve on Metro Waste Authority. And again, I'll just refer you to the webpage to look at some of my past service. I've served on almost every committee and body, as you might guess, over 26 years. So in the interest of time, I'll refer you to the website.
Well, thank you. I know we're getting close on time here, so we're gonna start with our closing remarks. And so John, since I've made you go last now the last couple of times and you helped kick us off our opening, I'm gonna have you kick us off to close, so.
Well, again, I really want to thank the chamber for hosting this, making it available online to those that could not be here tonight. I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here to listen to the candidates who are running. Everyone who is sitting here very much is interested in the welfare of Clive and how to make the community better. And so I invite you to look over the bios of all the candidates and be sure to vote on election day. Again, I can't say too much more about myself than what I've said already. I think you need to hear from the candidates where there is a heated, well, not a heated election, but we've got 2 council seats. We've got 3 people running. But I would hope that you would cast your vote for me on election day. It would be very embarrassing to be the only candidate running and to lose. So, so
Maybe
hopefully,
I'll vote for you.
thank you for that.
Oh, the pizza.
Oh,
Thank you to Christy and Clive, Chamber of Commerce, and to Jessica Maldonado for hosting. I appreciate that. And thank you all. I appreciate engaged residents. I know that this is maybe not your first choice on an average night. I appreciate those who have tuned in who were not able to attend. Engaged residents make a city what it is, and I really appreciate that. I do want to address just one thing that was mentioned earlier. I have heard that this race has become partisan, and I'm not really sure where that's coming from. When I am speaking on the doors, most people are not asking me what party I'm at, and I'm certainly not telling them. If after we have a conversation, someone says, okay, but what party are you? I will tell them what registered party I am. But that is after we have had a conversation. That is never at the top of the conversation. I don't know what my opponents are doing, but that is how I'm approaching this, because I agree with Eric. I want to keep the partisan stuff out of it. I think that that's one of the truly great things of municipal elections is that we do work together. We're a small group. We need to work together. And even if we may feel differently about an important issue, we can talk together and come to a conclusion of common sense of what's best for our city, regardless of what party leaders might believe based on any party that we may choose to be a part of. I can control what I do, and I can control how I treat people. I expect to be judged on that, and I expect that people will judge others based on that as well. I cannot control what people affiliated with a party might say about me, whether that's a party that I choose to belong to or a different party. So I'm not sure where these accusations of partisanship is coming from, but I'm not the one who's doing it. So I have led a very positive campaign to this point. In fact, on my home street, I chose not to make a point of putting yard signs up in every street because I thought it was maybe neutral territory and it would be nice to not force my neighbors to make a choice that's public. They can choose who they're supporting and they can make their private choice. I didn't want to make them put it out there. That was my choice on how to handle that situation. I know I respect the time and the energy and the thought that my two opponents have put in over the years to making Clive a better place. I absolutely believe they have Clive's best interest at heart. And I have not been negative about them with anyone at any doors. And I would hope that they would be able to say the same. So I would be honored if I could join the city council. I would be honored to earn your vote. And I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Again, thank you, Christy and Jessica. I've worked with you guys for many years. You do a tremendous job with the Clive Chamber, and I appreciate you, everyone coming out tonight. I'll give you three quick things right here. Experience. When you've been on the city council for 12 years, you bring a lot to the table. Mike's been on many years as well. You bring a lot. You hit the ground running on day one, whether that's serving in various boards or committees, but you bring a level of experience in addition to contacts around the greater metropolitan community. And one thing that is important that every year we go with the Greater Des Moines Partnership and lobby our friends on Capitol Hill, whether it's Congresswoman Axley or Senators Grassley and Ernst, to help find federal funds that help out Clive. You, the people right there. That experience is something that just doesn't come overnight. And I bring a wealth of experience to the table. Leadership. Leadership is something that we have to make difficult choices in the city council. Back in the recessionary, we had some very lean budget times right here. We had to make very difficult choices. When the red light camera issue was up, I had to make very difficult choices as well. And part of that is kind of holding your feet in the fire. It's the leadership that I've tried to demonstrate for many, many years. And part of that comes from my former service as Army captain. I did 12 years and was deployed overseas on your behalf. The last one is proven results. The city of Clive and our current city council has given you time and time again. Mike has given you a number of different numbers right there, proven results, the low tax rates that we have, the AAA bond rating, the high polling numbers from our citizens. These are key things that are barometers of success. And we've done this time and year. We sit through a lot of strategic planning that really prioritize our goals. We push process improvement with the staff that does a tremendous job of responding with how do you think outside the box. It's these type of innovative initiatives that this council has done that I think moves us forward. A lot of people say when I go out and talk to people, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I would ask for your vote. As far as partisanship, I'm not having working with the party that's distributing my materials. I don't have that type of get together every Sunday with a party that's distributing and helping me out. I'm doing it myself, and I've always believed in that. I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
Well, good evening. It was a great evening. Thanks to the chamber, Christy and Jessica for your time, and thanks to the residents and the business owners for coming out tonight and listening and showing an interest. And like I said earlier, part of that is on us as individuals to go out and get the information, to go out and meet the candidates where they're at, go ask the questions. We can only give you so much over social media or websites or, even door to door. And so we need to engage with them. Many of you do on a regular basis, or I've heard from multiples of you in this room at different times throughout the year on issues, and I hope that continues. Regardless of what side of Clive you live in, I am honored to represent that eastern half, but I think our council has done a great job, and the mayor has done a great job representing all of Clive, and I want that to continue. Of course, again, I do think a voice needs to be given to both sides and one in the neighborhoods, and I'm honored to be that person, and would be honored to continue to be that person, that eastern half of Clive. To be walking these neighborhoods on a consistent basis. So hope you'd consider casting your vote for Mike McCoy. And I can continue doing some of the great work that we and staff have done and you as residents have pushed for it's kind of that trainers on the track, let's just keep it on the track. And I like that. And so, again, I would appreciate you considering voting for me on November 2nd. And again, thank you and have a great night.
Let's give Jessica and Tabor a round of
The chamber, thank you all for being here with us tonight and virtually, and thank you very much to all the candidates for taking time out of your night to be here with us and to answer so many questions. And thank you to the city for providing the venue and the staff for helping us to set it all up. So we truly appreciate it and look forward to seeing you all at a chamber event again soon. So thank you and have a great evening.